Hello there, folks. I'm Dan Brown from sortofinteresting.com, and today you're joining me and a friend as we head out and do Oswald's Trail, which is a great big circular route all around Oswestry, as you can see, passing through some absolutely beautiful places, a lot of well-known local places, and let's just take a moment to look at that blue sky and say, what a day to go and spend 7 hours walking around. Fantastic stuff. So we left town heading towards the Iron Age hill fort that was just in the centre of the screen then, and skirted around that. Really, I suppose the first part of the trip here that you're going to see over the next minute or so is the ground level. I know obviously all of this is ground level because we're on the ground, but this is the low side, I suppose, of the trip where we're just going through flat fields and we're steadily over the sort of first half, maybe a little bit more of that of this video, going to get higher and higher, and periodically we'll turn around and just have a look at the view as you get higher. Obviously you see more and more of Shropshire and just how flat it is stretching out into the distance. But this first part of the video is a lot of the classic sort of, this is what I really call the proper Shropshire scenery, where it's all just fields and farmland. And I mean, on a beautiful day like this, you can see how the clouds have come over compared to how clear the sky was in that first opening clip. But this sort of just flat, empty fields. You've got Hengoed Cemetery there, where the trees are in the centre of the screen now. It's all very much what I consider to be classic sort of farmland Shropshire type scenery. This, you got your little streams running through periodically, just beautiful stuff. And I love things like this, where you have these little bridges put in as walkways over these said little streams that crisscross the fields here and there. And there's just something fantastic about these places. And I mean, just having the running water and how nice, and again, it's that classic little trickling stream sort of sound. And again, getting into more farmland, and it's everything about these clips that you've just seen in this video is really the sort of stuff that I've spent the last decade wandering around and enjoying and what have you. And when I bought my boat and lived on that, it was all this sort of scenery that we'd be travelling through, going to and from work on my bike in the morning. Just wanted to throw those weird three metal bars in there, as that was at the back of Pentry Pant. This is the front of Pentry Pant, the entrance up to the old hallway there. And those three bars were actually one of the most unusual styles to get in and out from the road that I've ever seen. Now, this is the entrance to Brigantine Hall, and you'll see Brigantine Hall in just a second, but I will post a link in the description to this video to my proper videos looking at Brigantine Hall there, and some of the farm buildings and that, which we'll briefly just have a look at now. As always needs to be said with somewhere like Brigantine Hall, what an absolute tragedy that such a beautiful old building is just out here literally falling apart and rotting away. You can see here you've got growth that's grown in from the outside around the windows and then back outside again through the windows. There's my ridiculous selfie for this video. I promise that'll be the only one. So as we wander up through the Brigantine estate here, this is where Brigantine Castle is hidden away just up in the background somewhere, in the Swiss cottage. For anyone who's familiar with these random Oswestry icons, you can see that you've got the old farm buildings here, and as I say, I'll leave a link in the description to a proper close-up video of some of these buildings. But it's just unbelievable, the sheer amount of stuff that used to be here. And there's an old walled garden that's totally overgrown, and in the middle of summer it's just full of nettles. And again, you just can't imagine how grand and how mighty this place once upon a time would have looked. And now, it's sad to say, but probably some of the more useful buildings are scattered around in these old derelict farm buildings. Again, this is one of my favourite photos that I've taken just then down that road, and the full photo I posted on Facebook, and it really did look like it had been edited somehow with Photoshop, but I promise it hadn't. Similarly, again, it's like absolutely love these sort of pictures of just styles and stuff like that. It's like the gateway from one part of the countryside over into, oh, more countryside, just that sort of stuff. Absolutely love it. So like I say, and as I promised, as we get higher and higher up the hill, heading towards the top of the racecourse, which is literally an old horse racing course, the view gets better into the distance. This is an old road, believe it or not, that's, as you can see, totally crumbled away and no longer suitable for any sort of motor vehicles. But it's a fascinating thing as well here. I wanted to take a picture of these two towers, as you can just about see these from Oswestry in a lot of places. So those are up to the right-hand side of the racecourse for anyone who's interested, if you ever see a little phone mast on top of the racecourse from Oswestry. But once you get up to certain parts of the top of the racecourse hill, there's amazing views to be had, but they're slightly away from the more standard places that most people go and most people consider the top of the racecourse. So again, that view there was a matter of minutes away from the real sort of public area and the dog walking area that a lot of people will know as the racecourse, such as the two-headed horse in this picture here. So we're heading downhill from this point into the racecourse woods. I seem to have said racecourse a lot in the last few moments, so my apologies there. But all of these sort of places are a lot better known than a lot of the other places you've seen in this video to general people in the Oswestry area. And it's one of those things that I always think is a great shame that you can walk just a matter of minutes or drive if you want and get out of the car in a couple of minutes in a different place not far from these areas and have much better views over Shropshire and how flat the plains are and that sort of stuff. Yet it's the sort of thing that somehow, I suppose that's really what Oswald's Trail is all about, getting people to go more frequently to some of these beautiful places and see these beautiful sights. And we're starting to drop down to what I call the first fields, which are the first fields as you leave Oswestry to go to the back racecourse lane area. So again, for anyone who's not familiar with the local area, don't really worry about that. But for anybody who is, it's sort of down the Trevonin Road sort of way. But again, this is one of the views, this is one of the places I must have come out most frequently, and one of the views of Shropshire and a little bit of Wales that I must have seen most often before I bought my boat and had the whole crazy narrowboat life experience and all the different places that took me. You can see now we're dropping down to where Lamvorder Hall used to stand. You just saw the big old walled garden there, and again, this is the old gateway to yet another massive mansion that is no longer there at all, basically. Again, you can see how these fields and that are proper classic Shropshire, as I like to call it. We're going to dive back into the maize fields here and follow our little pathway through. Again, holding up your hands to protect your face so you don't get swiped across your nose by the leaves. Oh yeah, now here we're coming to a place called Ponduncan, but we're not actually going to get to Ponduncan, but we are passing past pen-y-lan Mill there, which I thought was a nice enough old building and a beautiful place that had to be shown on camera, and again, from one of these views that you don't necessarily see that often. So we're back on the roads here, and after hours and hours and hours of walking, still a beautiful sunny day. Now, this is the back way into Morder, following the River Morder, which is just to our right here, I believe, which you might have seen in other videos of Ponduncan and stuff like that. Again, I'll post a link in the description to Ponduncan, so you can see beautiful scenes of this same little river here, but just a bit further upstream. At this point, we'd headed straight through Morder, followed the River Morder down towards Weston, and then cut our way back towards Oswestry, towards the main cemetery there. And believe it or not, from a place as rural looking as this, we are maybe one field away from an industrial estate. So the graveyard here is just to the left-hand side of the screen where those trees are. And as I've said before, what a beautiful day. After hours and hours of walking, it's still a beautiful sunny day. Oh, fantastic stuff. What memories were made on this trip and topics talked about and all the rest of it. So we're now entering back into the less rural part of the walk to end things with, where we cut in through town, through College Road, and headed out as if we were heading down towards Middleton Pool, and then cut at the back of the houses and followed basically in a little strip of land between the back of the houses and the main bypass road. I do like this area here where they've let it sort of go to meadow and wildflowers, and it's just, well, it's nice to see an awful lot of colour other than green. We did find these random fairy houses and stuff, and inside the box that was labelled fairy dust, I opened it up and was amazed to find that there was actual fairy dust in there. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw these in as a nice little side note and novelty. So whoever was out here making these, I don't know, a school or some sort of holiday group maybe, very nice little addition to the local area. So eventually, after cutting round the back of all the houses, we finally fetched our trip to an end. And what a trip it had been. So we cut up and over the side of Shelf Bank, cut one last time through an urban area of town, to finally end up back at Gattaca Playing Field, back at the Oswald's Trail sign that we started out at the beginning of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my other videos for loads more stuff like this from the local area, loads of biking, walking, and even over 200 videos of life on the local canals on a narrowboat. Yes, believe it or not. Feel free to check out my short boat life books as well. There's a lot of local stuff in those. Feel free to add me on Facebook and Twitter, and follow me on Instagram, and like the Facebook pages where basically I post loads of scenery and photos of exactly these type of areas. Anyway, until the next time, thanks for tuning in. Keep it boot worthy, keep it interesting, and of course, farewell.